Welcome to plzsoccer.com and this special one-to-one interview. I'm delighted to say I've got the founder of Street Soccer Scotland, David Duke. David, great to have you in the studio. I'm really, great to get an insight into street soccer all those years ago. How many years is it now since you started?
2009 it started with a bag of balls and a second-hand laptop, and just a kind of vision of trying to use football to kind of help people.
Yeah, when you look back at it now, you look back with tremendous pride. It's not just about Scotland now. You've managed to spread your wings far and wide with this whole project.
Yeah, we're in London now as well. Have been for about 4 years, and I think actually I look back with more with gratitude with some of the people who's been part of the journey. In terms of the team that work at Street Soccer, some of the supporters who kind of support us at our gala dinners, and sponsors and funders and stuff like that, who have kind of just bought into what the vision was back in 2009. And a lot of hard work, and since has went into that, and now, as I say, we're kind of across Scotland and now London, and the need is always there, because when Scotland, society's struggling or failing people, then sometimes you need to be there to help pick up the pieces, and that's what's been happening.
Has the vision changed?
No, really. I think, you can talk about strategy and all that, but I always say to the guys, there's somebody out there who needs a wee horn, so your job's to go and find them, and when they get to street soccer, you make them feel welcome.
Yeah.
And always just having a mentality of trying to do things better. Always trying to improve, make sure they kind of the welcome. The experience for players is always the best it can be.
What was the most basic initial feeling of setting up street soccer? Was it a case of, I want to try and get people just to be able to integrate, to not feel isolated, to have people to talk to about their problems?
I think, first and foremost, we realise that when you're struggling, if you're experiencing homelessness or kind of going through mental health or struggling with addiction, it can be quite isolating. You're kind of cut off, you're not really connected with anything. So just having that place where you can call home, a football pitch, a regular thing in your week to come along to. And we know the impact of just having a wee kick about and being around people, that kind of lifts your mental health straight away. But using that kind of football session to then start to build relationships, and then start to work out, what other services do we need to be providing, and what other organisations are out there who can provide some of the support that each and every individual needs, because everyone's journey is different, everybody needs something different, and that was the purpose, just kind of giving people a wee bit of a sense of belonging, and just knowing somebody's got your back. It's quite hard life's hard to navigate for everyone, and particularly if you're doing it on your own, and it's like, the whole ethos of football is kind of being part of a team and your teammates support you and stuff like that. It's just the kind of same ethos, knowing that people, when you're going through difficult times, you've got somebody to talk to, you've got somebody who's got your back, who can maybe kind of help and understand what's going on.
Yeah, I know you won't have in any way a kind of a graph. It's very difficult to monitor and even try and categorise it as a success rate, but do you look now and say to yourself, well, the ethos remains the same, but I can see now that there's more tentacles to offer people a chance to get back and integrate into society?
Yeah, I think, as we've kind of grown over the last kind of 16 years, we've now got, full-time mental health support workers, all our coaches are actually going through the, training to be counsellors as well. So our Edinburgh team of all the coaches there are all trained counsellors as well as football coaches, so they can understand and take a kind of trauma-informed approach when you're doing stuff. But, the challenge is still the same, poverty, homelessness, the figures aren't really changing, and obviously, dealing with a lot of players now who are displaced as well because of the refugee crisis, and so we're always just trying to say, right, designing programmes that work for the players, we're always kind of player-led, so we kind of understand where the gaps are in maybe services or opportunities for people. We just try and plug them through partnerships with, other organisations, because we all want the same thing. We all want to make Scotland the best place it can be for every individual who lives in it, and all these organisations who do their wee bits of things, it's about bringing them all together so that we can, rather than try to repeat what's already going on, so we just kind of provide like a complementary service within homelessness and you know, mental health services and addiction services.
Here's a $64,000 question for you. I'm sure 1,000,001 people have asked you it. As you continue to do the great work with Street Soccer Scotland, what would you like to see change that maybe is something that's so fundamental that could, it's not going to affect Street Soccer Scotland because you're still doing a great job, but what would you like to see change that has not happened, that is not, people haven't engaged in? Yeah.
I mean, I think, you know, Scotland, you know, for a country with the resources it has, its power, to still have children growing up in poverty, you know, still having, you know, real inequality, you know, in Glasgow and Edinburgh and other cities, you know, I think what we need is a kind of strategy to end poverty for in Scotland, because if you end that, then you end quite a lot of other stuff which is a byproduct of poverty. But because we live in a world where we're dictated by political cycles, you know, so that's one of the biggest challenges. And actually, what you need is a kind of almost like a mandate or a referendum on poverty, you know, and for Scotland to have a 10, 20-year plans, you know, this is the route. This because we've got the knowledge and the people in Scotland to kind of make it happen, but we need to commit to it, you know, and that takes investment. It takes changing, you know, how we build social housing and you know, opportunities for young people, you know, leaving school with little or no opportunities, making sure all these things are addressed so that we can thrive and prosper. But you know, it is the $1 million question, you know, but I think it has to be, you know, we need a vision for better, you know, and we can't rely on, you know, kind of, because the challenge with, as I say, government is it's always running in a cycle, you know, and, you know, it changes leadership, but we need a kind of long-term commitment which isn't dominated or affected by political parties.
Yeah, and I'm going to talk about KitBack, which you're organising very shortly. But just on that point, I mean, we're connected on LinkedIn. I see all your social posts. I see all the people that you're meeting. You know, some famous, some political, and you're obviously spreading the message, which is a very positive message. How difficult is it for you to navigate through and try and be non-political and try and then embrace friends across all those parties to try and do that?
Well, I think for me it's about, I take things on face value. So like when I'm speaking to people, I'm not seeing what party they're attached to, whatever. I'm just seeing who they are as a person and what their motives are, you know. And for me, you know, I've never sided with any political party. You know, I'll just kind of work with people who want to do the right thing, you know, or what I perceive to be the right thing for the people that we serve and support, you know. And I think I just kind of, I don't really change, you know, because I think you're just going to be yourself in these situations and speak the truth, you know, and sometimes that's uncomfortable for people, but you just need to, you know, be really true to your values and, you know, and try and do what you think's the right thing and try and influence that way. And, you know, I've never been one to be, you know, vocal in terms of politically. I always try and give it a positive message, but, you know, you can influence. You don't need to always influence on social media. You can influence behind the scenes and you know, trying to get the right people, working with the right people and showing, because there's some amazing people in Scotland doing amazing things. You know, you need to showcase a light on some of these organisations and say, look, you know, pointing to government saying, why are you not doing more of this stuff? Because it works.
Yeah. You have had major projects that you've had out promoting over the years, all of them obviously to try and stimulate Street Soccer Scotland, to spread the word, spread the message, and obviously get more and more people to help the project that you have. So KitBack is the latest one, which is a great idea, because for a man who loves football strips, I'm thinking to myself, tell us about it.
Yeah, I'll be reading through your cubby hole in a minute. So I mean, KitBack, so why it exists to start with is, you know, we know how challenging, well, most people know the challenges facing the economy and funding and all that, you know, public sector cuts, not so charities are in a real difficult situation just now, because the demand on, and I'm not just speaking about street soccer, I'm speaking about wider organisations, the demand on services is increasing, yet access to funding and resource is kind of disappearing. So we're always trying to think of ways where we can, how can we generate, you know, a wee bit more income, so we do like the gala dinner and stuff like that, which we've been in, just trying to think, creatively and entrepreneurially in terms of how we can do something. And so KitBack, basically, we thought, there's a million and one people sitting with probably some football tops in the cupboard that they're not wearing, or they're just sitting there gathering dust, and they might not be any use to them. So we are saying, right, okay, well, we can find a home for that, but then what we can do is we can upcycle it, resell it, and then all the proceeds from that shirt that's been donated goes directly to supporting somebody who needs a wee bit of support through street soccer.
Yeah.
So it's a really simple model, and at a time when, not everybody can afford to donate to charity and stuff like that as well. So we're trying to look at ways, well, we're not asking you to kind of, put your hand in your pocket. If you've got any football kit or football shirts that's kind of just sitting there doing nothing, donate it to us. We'll find a home for it. As I say, all the proceeds go to street soccer. And as you know, there's a huge demand on kind of retro football shirts now and older football shirts. It's almost like a fashion thing now. So you look at classic football shirts. I think they've got a turnover of about 25 million, kind of 6 million profit each year. So it's a big business, but the difference with us is we're trying to do it, but do it for good.
Yeah.
So there is no profit share. All the proceeds will go to helping people here in Scotland and in London.
We're going to put a link at the bottom of the video for people to click through, but in a simple process, what do they have to do? How do they do it? They've found 3 shirts in their drawer and they're thinking, right, okay, I'm buying into what you said, David. What do I do?
Well, so the main thing to do, first of all, is just to go to KitBack, so kitback.org.uk, so kitback.org.uk, and that'll give you instructions in terms of where to drop stuff off. So we'll have drop-off points in Glasgow and Edinburgh, Dundee, etc. And there's also a postal option, so you can return it in the post for free. So you can just stick it in a bag, and I think you can print a label off from the website, and you can we'll do the rest. We'll pay for the packaging as well, so it won't even cost you anything to post it. And then on the 29th of May, so we launched KitBack as the initiative, the campaign in the enterprise on Monday, but the actual online store opens on the 29th of May as well. So we've already started collecting some weird and wonderful and iconic football shirts, which will be on that site for people to buy. And again, you're buying it, but when you're buying it, you're buying hope, and you're buying an opportunity for somebody who might need it.
So by the 29th of May, you'll have that website up and running, which is great.
So right now we're just getting everybody involved. So, and it's not just individuals, we're working with companies, ScotRail, Power League, Burness Ball. So they're now starting to do like in-house collection days for all their staff, 500 people doing, so we're starting to, and then
Tell me, do you have to wash the strips?
I don't, Jerry does. Jerry Britton gets the perso every morning. Aye, if you could wash it, that'd be great. But we as part of our process, we launder everything as well, just for. But and also football clubs, so we've got Fulham Foundation just donated 9 boxes of kit. We've got Brentford involved now, so they're donating about 12 boxes as well.
Are you going to contact all the clubs?
Yeah, we're reaching out to all the clubs to try, especially end of the season and all that. And the great thing about that is, again, we're working with thousands of people at street soccer who wear training kit and all that. It's always coming in handy. So with the clubs getting involved now, some of the club stock will go into the KitBack website, but the big majority will actually go directly to the players as well. So our players will be kitted out with training kit and socks and shorts.
You mentioned the clubs that you've got involved so far. What's the feedback and general consensus with others? Are they positive?
Yeah, well, everyone we spoke to really kind of wants to help. Had some conversations with Hearts, and so we're starting to get round the doors, and even looking out abroad as well. So we're trying to get some of the international clubs and stuff like that involved as well. So. Aye, it's just at the start, and it's exciting. But again, hard work, and the big thing is, every time somebody donates a shirt or buys a shirt, the people can access support.
16 years on,
yep.
It's fantastic. I think you should feel very proud of your achievements, and obviously there's been more than a few team members along the way that have helped you. you've met a few people. I'm usually not in awe of anybody that I meet in this game because, as you know, we're all just human beings. Is there anybody you have met though that you've thought, oh wait a minute?
Well, I mean, obviously Sir Alex got involved in the early days as a kind of founding ambassador back in the day, and obviously he spoke at.
I was there.
So I think coming for Govan myself, you know, and the first time you meet Sir Alex is obviously, and obviously I'd met him a few times after now, but he was one that was always, but you know, met Beckham and, you know, different folk along the years. But as you say, people are people, you know, and I think, you know, I do a lot of work with Andy Robertson. I'm a trustee of Andy's charity. Andy's got his AR26 charity, you know, and people just, you know, people just want to help, you know, and I think that's the good thing about KitBack. And what I've noticed with street soccer is, you know, most people want to make a difference and help, but obviously people are busy, and I think you know this yourself, if people can help, they will, you know, and I think we all want to just make things better for everybody, do you know what I mean? And it's no same with the kind of celebs and stuff.
And I've always known you to have that kind of tremendous humility. It's not really been about you, it's been about the whole project. But an OBE, it's not bad, is it?
Again, you know, people talk, but I forget about it. Do you know what I mean? See how it doesn't, like, you might use it I'll use it on my LinkedIn and all that, because it kind of removes the kind of big bam element of who I really am. But
to be fair, if Jerry Britton and I had somebody coming at us with a sword, we'd remember it. But so let's not play it down. I mean, Jerry's been at a club where Chick Charlie had somebody coming at him with a sword, and that was only training. So how did you feel? Who gave you the sword?
It was the Queen.
Oh, that's magic, isn't it?
It was at Holyrood. And I think, you know yourself, these things, they're not really about you. They're about the people who love you, your sister, your family and stuff like that. My mum had just passed away at the time, but I know that she would have been really proud and stuff like that. She, you know, and Ali Dawson was alive. You know, Ali came to this. Ali was obviously my coach and my mentor. So Ali actually came to the vestiture with my sister and all that. And so you're doing it for them because they are proud.
Yeah.
You know, and especially, you know, my own journey, having been homeless myself when I was younger and stuff like that, they've seen the growth in me as a person and just as a human being, do you know what I mean? So, it's really nice, but again, I'd rather one of our players got it, you know, because it's always about somebody else.
Yeah, well, listen, you listen to OBE or whatever, you should feel tremendously proud about street soccer. KitBack, great idea. I really hope that does well. Click on the link, and as ever, David, thanks for coming into the studio and sharing the story with us.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Top man.